Welcome back, class. On this lesson, we're going to see how graph behaves, which means we're going to make a prediction on what's going to happen if it continues to a certain direction. What will happen? Now, let's see what is it we're talking about. If we were consider the parent function, it is nice to know the parent functions of the graph. So let us say we have what we call f of x equal x squared. That is a quadratic function. So if we look at it, what happens? The sketch of it will look in this manner because the quadratic gives us a parabola. All right? So if you were to look what happened if I continue to the positive x as x goes to positive infinity, which means it goes, we have weights 1, 2, 3, it continues. As x goes further and further, the value of y gets higher and higher as well. So we say the behavior of this graph as x approaches infinity, positive infinity, the value of y also approaches infinity. So if we were to go to the other direction, we see as x goes toward negative infinity, the y keeps going to positive infinity as well. So this is how this graph behaves. Now, if we look at f of x equals negative x squared, what happens as x approaches positive infinity, y approaches negative infinity. Similarly, as x approaches negative infinity, y also approaches negative infinity. That's how the graph behaves. All right? Another important graph you can look at function is f of x equal x cubed. Well, the parent function of this, ladies and gentlemen, look in this manner. So, what happens here? If I have to read this, I know as x approaches negative infinity, y also approaches negative infinity. As x approaches positive infinity, so does y. Y approaches positive infinity as well. And if we consider f of x equal negative x cubed, what happens to the graph? The sketch looks like this. Now, notice that as x approaches negative infinity, y approaches positive infinity. And as x approaches positive infinity, y approaches negative infinity. Now, what you have to do is graph a couple of functions to see how they behave. I want you to notice what happens here. When the function is odd, has an odd exponent, and when the function has an even exponent, I want you to pay close attention to what's happening and make that observation. So for you to have a better grasp and understanding of how this works, let us use Desmos. Let us go to desmos.com and graph the following function. If we have the functions graph, as you graph them, I want you to pay close attention to what's happening. So notice what's the difference when the exponent, the degree of the function is odd and when the degree of the function is even. I want you to pay close attention to that. And we will go from there, and you should be able to do some of the assignments that is assigned to you. Thank you.